Very good afternoon, everyone. We want to continue our lesson, right? I think all of you are in good health and good manner, and also happy with your family and your neighbors, right? Uh, Everyone is fine. Can you see my slides, my presentation? Can everyone see
Yes.
it? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right. We were talking about the role of political ideas and ideologies in our last class, right? Now, today we want to continue it and go forward bit ahead. So while we are talking and while we are discussing, if you have questions, if you want to make more clarification, so then you can raise hand and you can ask questions. Don't worry, right? You're free to talk. Then you must express your ideas and views, comments, and raise questions freely. Right? Is it okay for everyone? So the second role of political ideology can be identified as it helps to us to identify the nature of political systems. In the world, there are different political systems, right? From our history, there are different political systems. So when we are going to study them, or when we are going to identify them, uh, it is very useful to apply political ideology to identify. For example, when we are talking about communism or Marx-Leninism, it is automatically interconnected with the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. In simply, it's called USSR, right? So then, when we are going to study USSR or Soviet politics, automatically we can identify communism or Marx-Leninism as the political ideology, right? Another example is Maoism. Maoism means the political ideas and ideologies which were generated by Chairman Mao Zedong in China. Then after, in 1949, under the leadership of Chairman Mao Zedong, Chinese people and the Chinese Communist Party did a revolution. Normally it's called Chinese Revolution. After 1949, China is labeled or is called as People's Republic of China. So in this time, it's a very popular topic, right? So when we are going to study Chinese politics or political history of China, then we can identify China through the lens of Maoism, because People's Republic of China followed Maoism as their political ideology. Then, if we talk about socialism, so socialism is very big one, big concept, right? So there are number of sub-themes and subcategories in socialism. For example, Fabian socialism, social democracy, then also Marx-Leninism or classical communism, right? there are many different categories, right? So if we talk about, if we are talking about the North Korea, in a formal way, it's called the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, DPRK. Article number 1 of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, or North Korea, Article number 1 of the Constitution of North Korea, it clearly says that political ideology of the North Korea, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, is socialism. So then we can identify North Korea, or DPRK, or the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, as the socialist country, because its constitution clearly says it, right? So then if we talk about Nazism, we can identify Nazism under the leadership of Adolf Hitler. So, for example, most suitable example for that is Germany under the leadership of Adolf Hitler. So then, if someone may talk about liberalism, so then when you are thinking about USA, UK, France, Belgium, Australia, New Zealand, then also Sweden, Switzerland, Norway, Denmark, right, Poland. So then we can identify those countries as liberal countries or liberalist political system, because they are following liberalism and also market economy as their economic policy. So then in here, what I explained, the role of political ideas and ideologies, we can identify it as political ideology help us to identify the nature or shape of a particular political system. As political science students and scholars, or general people, or journalists, when we are going to identify, or when we are going to study certain political system, or normally we are calling it about the government or the country, a particular area, so then political ideology automatically help us to have a clear idea, to get a clear picture about the particular political system or the government or the particular country, right? So, for example, in Sri Lanka, our constitution says it as as this Socialist Republic of Sri Lanka, right? In likewise, we can apply ideology to identify certain political systems. I think now you can have a clear idea about this slide, right? Now I'm going to move next one. The political ideas and ideologies can act as a form of social cement, right? Social cement, that's a new jargon actually. Social is one thing, cement is another thing. Cement means in combining something. See, we use cement to construct the building or to bind something, right? To make a concrete. Likewise, particular ideologies or ideology help us to have a bonds, combination with each other, to create a combination with each other, to have bond, right? For example, in society, as we know, there are different people, right? We have different ideas, different lifestyles, different, very different thinking patterns, very different physical appearance, very different needs, very different interests. So many aspirations, right? All these things are very different from each other. But sometimes when we accept one particular ideology, so then it helps us to work together, to gather together, to talk together, to write together, to think together, to do politics together, right? To achieve a particular goal, or sometimes to achieve a particular uh, aspiration or target. So in this picture, I think some of you are aware about this picture, or some are not. I will explain a bit about this picture. In this picture, Mahatma Gandhi is there. At the time of British administration imposed a special tax on salt in India. So Mahatma Gandhi and his followers, they believe satyagraha and non-violence. Then what they did, they decided to violate that rule which was imposed by the British government or British administration as a direct action against to British government. Under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi, a huge number of followers went to Dundee to dig the salt. That incident, actually, that activity, that event is called by the name of Salt March. So you can see in this picture, huge number of people are gathered there. They walked peacefully and calmly under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi to violate the British rule, to violate the British law, which was imposed by the British administration while they were in India, right? So likewise, the people, those who are having certain beliefs, opinions, and certain similar mindset, as a result of following particular political ideology, then most of time they are working together, they are talking together, they are doing politics together. They gathered, most of time they are gathered in the same place to do a demonstration against the government, and like that, right? On the other hand, each and every ideologies are similar. For example, ecology, if we think about ecologism, people, those who are having similar kind of mindset regarding environmental issues and natural calamities, right? They may work together to protect our environment, to minimize global warming, and to adjust or reduce the dangers of climate change. That's how they are working. For example, feminists, they are talking about gender issues, women issues, and social issues which are related with female and male in our society. So similar kind of within having similar kind of mindset, they're working and uh, writing, talking in a in a common platform, right? So that's why I said that political ideology works as a social cement to bind people in our society. I think you can have clear idea about this, how political ideology help us to bind each other and create a certain kind of social and political equity among the similar kind of people, those who are having similar kind of mindset. Right? If you have a question, you can ask now or later on, whatever the time you need, whatever the time you like. You can ask questions, you can raise questions, you can raise your hand, then I can give the time to you to present your to hear your question, or to present. I can give a permission, I can allocate time to present your question, right? So then, likewise, now I'm going to bit deeper and also bit theoretical. Political ideologies have commonly been associated with particular social classes. When we are studying, we can identify political ideologies aligned with certain political classes. For example, if you think about middle class, the people, those who are belong to middle class, they are like they are having willingness um, to have willingness to they are having willingness to be a members of liberalism, right? Or sometimes they may do certain things to promote liberalism. Then traditional aristocrats, landlords, aristocrats, they may like to identify by themselves as conservatism, or by seeing the activities and expressions or proclamations, we can identify them, landlord aristocrats, as conservatists, right? So most of time, the working class people, those who are belong to working class, maybe labor class, maybe teachers, maybe the workers, those who are working in the government sector, or factory, right? Just workers or proletariats, they can be identified as the followers of socialism. That's a general assumption in categorizing this, right? It may be different sometimes in special cases. For example, Friedrich Engels, right? The very close friend and colleague of Karl Marx. Friedrich Engels was was in UK. He was a very big businessman at that time, aristocrat businessman. But what he did, he aligned with Karl Marx. He developed Marxism, right? He did not serve to continue his business or family property. He dedicated all these things and committed to develop classical Marxism. In such a way, there are certain specialties, right? Special cases in everywhere. But generally, we can assume middle class people as liberalist, landlord aristocrats as conservatives, working class people as socialist, because particular ideology helps us to identify those classes within the sense of ideology. Majority of the people of these particular classes are following that kind of ideologies. That's why we can categorize those things in that manner, right? Now you can see the picture, right? So political ideology help us to promote social order and social stability. Social order and social stability. How it can be done? How it can be happen? Right? Political ideology helps to develop or continue social order and social stability. So I can give answer in this way. The people, those who are in a particular country, if they follow particular political ideology, they are bound to follow that. Or sometimes they like to follow certain political ideology. There's no different type of political ideology or different views. Or sometimes they may not have been such kind of strong political ideology. Sometimes there are few political ideologies in that particular political system, but out of them, one is most powerful. Then people may have tendency to follow it, right? They like to follow the major political ideology out of them. It helps to establish social order and social stability. For example, People's Republic of China. People's Republic of China can be identified as a country following Maoism. It means that majority of the people in People's Republic of China, they are following Maoism, Maoist communism. There are people, those who are having different ideas, right? Different ideologies. But majority, absolute majority of People's Republic of China is following Maoism. Then it is easy to convince something to them because they are following one political ideology. As the result of that, they may have similar kind of mindset. So I think that may be the one thing behind the successful COVID-19 response in People's Republic of China. That may be the one reason, right? So in other case, in liberal countries, for example, Great Britain or UK, not the Great Britain, UK, United Kingdom. So there are different political views, political ideas, and ideologies, right? They allow different political views and ideologies. For example, in this moment also, there are a number of political views and ideas are running in UK, but majority of them they like to follow liberalism. Therefore, as a result of that, they're having similar kind of mindset because majority of them like to respect equity, freedom of expression, then sovereignty, right? Property of individual property rights, and so on. Therefore, they have a similar kind of mindset. Then it helps to continue and establish social order and social stability, right? Like this. Sometimes this might be happen. What is this? Earlier, previous two slides, I used to convince you political ideology is something to help establish and continue social stability and social order. Sometimes political ideology may be caused to create social disorder and instability. Now you may have puzzle, right? You may have questions. How it can be happen? Political ideologies sometimes may be used to against the existing government, existing social order. Political ideology sometimes may cause to create different type of mindset among the people. For example, insurrection, the revolutions, religious fundamentalism or religious radicalization, and also terrorism. In such events, political ideologies may work to damage social stability and the social order in our society, right? Then we can say political ideology help us to what? To establish social order and stability. But in some cases, we can say that vice versa, political ideology may be caused to create social instability and social disorder, right? Is it clear? Right. If you have questions, you can ask, right? You are having full freedom, right? You may have questions, clarifications, anytime you can ask. Or if you like, you can ask at the end of our discussion, right? It doesn't matter. In singular medium class yesterday, while we are talking, while I'm talking, while they are listening, they raise their hand. Then I gave us time to them to raise their voice. Then after having their point, I gave my answer for that questions. Likewise, you can do that, right? You are very free, right? In this picture, another picture, you can see political ideology might be caused to create social instability and social disorder. Especially in this time, it is very popular, right? For example, today at the time of global COVID-19 pandemic situation, the situation in USA is getting worse now because of heavy demonstrations and political violences are going on, right? Through the media, we can observe these incidents, why it is happening, what was the reason behind that, what will be the results, right? Using our political ideology, we can see them, right? Or using those activities, we can have some kind of analyze or understanding about these things. Then political ideology helps to foster a sense of belonging and solidarity. Sense of belonging. Political ideology help us to plant an idea in our mind. What type of idea? That's an idea in our mind. Because of that idea, we start to think collectively. We start to think collective mind, right? For example, if I believe ecologism or environmentalism plants an idea in my mind. Then after that, I started to think about the protection of environment. Then I started to search people those who are working on that. Then if I find them, definitely I will try to be friend with them. Definitely I will try to having a relationship with them. I will invite them to work together, to write together, to think together, to speak together. For what? To protect environment. To protect environment. If I accept the ideas about conservatism, conservatism plant an idea in my mind. Then after that, I started to think to protect our traditions, traditional knowledge, social hierarchy, right? Then I do not believe equity in our society. I started to believe social hierarchy in our society, and wherever I go, I started to think and I started to find out that type of social hierarchy, right? If I believe, if I think, if I accept conservatism. Another example, if I accept feminism, feminism plants an idea in my mind. Then after I started to think about equal status of male and female in our family, in our society, in our school, in our university, then I started to believe their views. Social contributions which are coming from male side and also female side, right? That is why I said political ideology help us to foster, to have a sense of belonging and solidarity. That's why people, those who are following Marxism and socialism, they started to talk with each other. Oh, dear sister, dear brother, comrades, like that, right? Now, they started to think always the other members in our society are, or the members of their class are members as their brothers and sisters, right? I think you can have clear idea about this. Another picture which is related with belonging and solidarity. We start to think we are the part of that line. We are the part of that system, right? So then our students, most of time, I'm talking about you. You like to collect definitions, right? But in here, there are definitions, but there's no agreed and constant definition on political ideology. For example, David McLennan in 1995, a scientist, he's a social scientist, he said that Ideology is the most elusive concept world of the social sciences. That's the most, according to him, that's the most complicated, most difficult concept in all social sciences, right? What what does he mean? The term ideology is that much of complicated according to the idea of David McLennan, right? But don't worry, don't be afraid of that. We can go slowly, step by step, knowing place to unknowing place, knowing area to unknowing area. This is not actually a lecture, this is a discussion, right? We are talking with each other because of this online system. I started to talk first, otherwise we can share ideas as we did in Bellevue Loyola University premises before the COVID-19 period, right? So there's a discussion. So we can go step by step from simple point to next, then next, right? Like now we are going to swim in the sea, on the sea, right? Step by step, very simply we can do it. Then you may have this type of question. In political science, there are different things, right? Political ideology, we are talking about political ideology. Then political theory, political philosophy, right? You may have question, you may have puzzle regarding this, right? Sometimes you may have complicated mindset about all these things: political ideology, political theory, and also political ideology. Political ideology, political theory, and political philosophy, right? So first, shall we talk about the differences between political theory and political ideology? So political theory, it help us to understand politics, right? Likewise, political ideology also help us to understand politics. That's clear. There's no any doubt. So then the second one, political theory helps us to analyze politics. Is it simple? No? Likewise, political ideology also help us to analyze politics. Right? There's no difference. Political theory can be developed applying inductive research methods. What is that? Inductive research methods. In research methods, there are two parts: deductive and inductive. Deductive, inductive. When we are going to study politics, or when we are going to do a research in politics, we can select one of these two methods, whether it is deductive or inductive. Deductive means first we think about political theory, maybe social contract theory or any other theory, right? Or liberal peace theory or something like that. First, we have to think about, we have to select political theory first. Then after, we can go and do a research to find the ground situation. In that method, we are what we are doing after going to research field, we try to investigate whether there is a similar kind of things or not, which is proclaimed by the political theory. Very simply, I can say, in deductive method, first we select the political theory and we go to the research field, and then we try to find out similar kind of political, similar kind of things, or political theory, the similar kind of things which are insisted, which are highlighted by the political theory in the practical ground. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are not. But the other method, inductive method, if we select the inductive method, what we have to do, first we have to go to the research field. Research field means maybe people, maybe the election time, maybe the social media, maybe electronic media, or maybe printed media, whatever the place we go. And first, we have to observe what are the ongoing political incidents, what are the ongoing political situation factors. First, we have to collect them. First we have to collect them. Then after, we have to categorize them. We have to think deeply. Through that thinking, we can develop political theory. We can develop new concepts. That's the way of doing research, using or applying inductive method. Again, I will say, if we select there, when we are going to do a research in any subject, right? Not only in the political science, in every subject, there are two methods: deductive, inductive. If we select deductive, first we have to select political theory. Then we have to go to the research field and verify. We have to verify that there is a certain things which are highlighted by the political theory. In the inductive method, if we apply inductive method, first we have to go to the research field. Then after, we have to collect ongoing and existing incidents and events in our political life, political things. So then, analyzing all these facts and figures and data, we have to develop new concepts and theories. That's the way of inductive research method. So in here, we can identify political theory. We can develop political theory applying inductive research method. When you are going to do your thesis or dissertation in fourth students or master's students in your future, you can apply one of these methods, right? But the political ideology is quite different from political theory, because political ideology emerged through the socio-political, socio-economic, and politico-historical background. Political ideology certainly emerged through the socio-economic and politico-historical background. That's very important point. Without socio background, without economic background, without political background, without historical background, political ideology are not emerged generally. That's our historical experience. For example, political ideology emerged at the time of very critical or difficult period. Certain political ideology emerged to help to find a solution for that difficult situation. As a solution of that particular situation. For example, if you think about liberalism, at the time of Roman Empire, at that time, liberalism cannot be seen in our history, right? After the Roman Empire, the feudalistic system came into exist. But at the beginning of new era, modern era, feudalistic system and institutions which are which were the major pillars of feudalistic system were collapsed at the time of time of modern era, modern period. So then, at that context, liberalism step by step emerged. Then after, liberalism established well in our society. But at the time of 17th and 18th centuries, at the time of peak of liberalism, the liberalism did not consider about humanity, human rights, about the workers or humans, their needs and interests, their freedom and safe. So that's why to fulfill that gap, socialism emerged as an ideology. Marxism emerged as an ideology, right? So another thing is that if I'm thinking about feminism, first systematic writing of feminism came into exist in 1792. It was written by the feminist writer, the first systematic feminist writer, Mary Wollstonecraft, French philosopher. She wrote a book in 1792 under the name of The Vindication of Right of the Women. In that book, she explained well what she explained. She talked about the French Revolution. According to her point of view, the French Revolution was taken place in 1789. Men and women equally contributed to that event, to that process, equally contributed. But after the French Revolution, male members of the society captured the political power, and they did not consider about women's issues. They neglected women from the political arena. So that's why Mary Wollstonecraft wanted to highlight that issue. Then after, many writers, many thinkers, many practitioners came into exist. Then they started to talk about feminism as a major issue at that time. So likewise, to address those issues, feminism emerged as an ideology. If we think about ecologism or environmentalism, at the time of 1950 and 1960s, our environment is started to polluted because of industrialization, because of human activities which were done by the human beings, Anthropocene, right? So then our environment is being degraded day by day. The ozone layer has been damaged. As a result of then after global warming and climate change was serious issues in our present world. So in this particular context, environmentalism or ecologism came into exist as an ideology. That is why I said this is very important part. Ideology emerged during the socio-economic, politico-historical background. Without social background, political background, historical background, or economical background, political ideologies are not emerged. That's a general thing. That is not the political theory is not like that. The political scientists or political philosophers or political theorists, political thinkers, they can produce certain political theory. For example, sometimes they are not practical as well. For example, divine theory of political power. That's a theory in political science, right? King James II, according to my memory, he applied this theory very well. But today we know that the divine theory of political power, that's not a practical one. It is very suited in our ancient time, but it is not a practical political theory or political concept in modern context. In that sense, political ideology is more practical than the political theory. So this kind of differences are there in between political theory and political ideology. Then after, there's another one, political philosophy. Now we are going to talk about the differences between political philosophy and the political ideology. If you think about political philosophy, it is too much philosophical. If you talk about political ideology, it's more practical. Political philosophy is much philosophical. Political ideology is much practical. Most of the time, political philosophy focuses on social justice and virtue. Right? From our history, from Aristotle, Socrates, Plato to modern context, Aristotle to Sijek, Aristotle to Roland Barthes, right? Aristotle to Galton. They're talking about most of time. Most of the political thinkers, they're talking about, they're focusing on social justice, how to establish social justice. What is the best way to establish social justice? How to perceive and how to achieve social justice. So, what is the virtue? Next one. How it can be defined, how it can be absorbed in our day-to-day political life, how it can be absorbed in our political society, how it can be in practice in our day-to-day life in our political institutions. So those type of issues were raised by political philosophers. Then political ideology, most of time it focuses on achieving ideological objective rather than worrying about social justice or virtue. It doesn't mean that political ideology did not consider about social justice and virtue, right? They are there, but their main focus is how to achieve their goals. For example, uh, nationalism. Nationalism. Nationalism developed as the formation of nation state in as one side. In other side, due to colonial powers and colonial subordination, nations in Asia, Africa, and Latin American countries, they started their national struggles against to the colonial powers. In that process, they applied nationalism, the sense of nation and sense feeling of motherland emerged at, as the result of this kind of national movements or national incidents against the colonial power, right? So then what they believe, what they wanted to achieve, they wanted to achieve what? To sovereignty for them. They wanted to achieve their freedom from the colonial powers, right? They were not that much of worrying about social justice and virtue and other things, but they are there in their movement and their activities and their writings, their talking, their gathering and their movements, all these things are there. But their main and primary target is to achieve their independence from the colonial powers. That's why I'm saying political ideologies are more focused on achieving their target. If we talk about ecologism or environmentalism, their primary aim is to protect the environment. Protect the environment, right? For example, there are some organizations in the world, they're called Animal Liberation Front, Earth Liberation Front. Animal liberation, primary objective of Animal Liberation Front is to protect the lives of all human, all species, especially animals. They do not like to see the lab test using animals. So what they most of time what they're doing, they violently attack those kind of labs and they try to take animals from that particular labs. The other thing is, other organization is Earth Liberation Front. the people, those who are engaging with that organization, what they wanted to have, they think that to do harm against the people, those who are damaging the environment, they selected violent method to against to avoid those activities. Because of that, Animal Liberation Front and Earth Liberation Front, though they are in believing environmentalism or ecologism, they are named or labeled as terrorist organization because they used violence, right? I wanted to just give an example. And the people, members, those who are in Animal Liberation Front and also Earth Liberation Front, they are believing ecologism and environmentalism, but they use the violence to protect the lives of animals and environment. Because of that, they are labeled as terrorist organizations. That's why I'm saying political ideologies are more focusing on achieving their targets, right? Political philosophy, it shows different paths in the way of doing politics. Political philosophy shows us different paths how to do a politics, how to deal with the politics, how to deal with the government institutions, how to establish government institutions, how to create the power within the certain institutions of the government. Political philosophy guides us. For example, we can remember Plato's philosophical ideas about philosophical king, right? But sometimes political ideology, it is being a lifestyle or a passion. Lifestyle or a passion. Oh, I can explain it in this way. The youths like you, most of time like to have apple and che. Apple and che. That's why famous writer, lyricist in Sri Lanka, Kumara Lianage, he wrote a book under the name of Che and Apple. According to him, Che and Apple are the most popular dream of our youngest, not only in the Sri Lanka, in the world. It means apple means not the apple which can be eaten, right? That's the Apple as a brand. Apple phone, Apple computers, and Apple items. Young generation, they are having dream to achieve Apple type of things. Likewise, they are trying to have chase picture. They are trying to. They like to wear chase t-shirts and chase caps and all these things. So that's why Kumar Lianage said these two things are the most popular brand most popular things among the young generation in current world context, right? So people, those who are believing certain political ideas and ideologies, then they try to convert that as their passion. For example, people, those who are believing in Marxism or socialism, they mostly like to have beard and long hair like this, right? So sometimes if you look at the person who is following environmentalism or ecologism. He or she is very indifferent and not using items which are made by the animal parts, right? Uh, she or he always trying to be aligned with environment, natural environment. When he or she is going to construct a house, it's more like to have a natural setup, right? Uh, it's been a passion ideology. Sometimes people, those who are following certain political ideology, they may have pictures of political, they are prepared political thinkers, philosophers, photos or pictures in their purse, in their bags, right? In their office room, in their private room, in their living room, like Bruce Lee, right? The most young boys, they're having Bruce Lee's picture in their uh, sleeping room at their home, right? Likewise, the people, they may have pictures of V.R. Lenin, Karl Marx, Engels, Che Guevara, Mao Zedong, Fidel Castro, right? Maybe Chanakya. That's why I'm saying political ideology, it can be considered as a passion, as a lifestyle, right? Another thing is that political philosophy is not that much of practical. Actually, and in the sense of with, social justice and virtue, they are the best. They're showing us, they are saying us best thing of the uh, best thing, most suitable things to our life and our society and our institutions. But most of time they are not practical. For example, Plato's philosophical ideas on philosophical king, that's a brilliant idea we have seen, we have here in our life. But in practically, it's very difficult to see, right? You know than me, it's very difficult to implement. It is very difficult to follow the idea of philosophical king. But in ideology, very often it is reflection, certain group of people, or society, political movement, or the particular political system. Political ideology can be seen as a reflection of certain person, group of person, or class, or society, organization, institution, state, or group of state or region. That's why earlier Eastern Europe Eastern Europe was called as Soviet bloc under the leadership of USSR, right? And likewise, we can identify political ideology within that sense, right? So these are the differences between political ideology and political theory, political ideology, and political philosophy. So I think now you have clear idea about all these things. If you have any questions, comments, clarifications, more demands, now this is the time for you. Raise your voice. You can ask questions. You can give your comments, ideas. You can have more clarifications, right? now today we are going to stop our discussion of the second part of our class, right? Anything?
Sir, we don't have this slide on liberalism. We have a different one.
Sorry.
We don't have this slide on ideology, political ideology. We have a different slide.
Yes. That's really correct, because that's the original one, right? So
Yes.
I planned them to deliver lectures in face-to-face lectures in Belluda premises. So if it is happen, you and me are in the same place and same class. We can talk
Yes.
briefly and raise questions, make clarifications, give answers, and so on. But then after, what I realized, so to make them very, make them very simple, right? Then I put pictures, then I put diagrams, elaborate them very simply. I use very simple language. When I write in, I always try to use particular simple language, simple words, because you are in second year. So don't worry, this recording is going to be I'm going to upload this video in YouTube and what's called Google Drive. Then you can have video with slides. Then also I can upload my slides on LMS, new slides on LMS. Thank you very much, Racing, and thank you very much for
Okay, sir.
understanding and
Okay. Yeah, this
carefully.
slide is more clear than that. Yeah,
Yeah,
this slide is more clear than that. That's right, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
These are very simple, right? Because
Yeah.
I what's called thoughtfully selected very simple words to clarify our ideas, right? Any comments? Any questions?
No, this is clear.
Okay, thank you, Sayu Kanchana. Senali, oh yes. Any others? Other members? Sudarshan? Where is he? He's not in today? Sudarshan? Mohan Ambal? Hello? Kanchana? Yes, Mohan Ambal. Everything is fine, clear? Any comments? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
No, sir.
If you have any questions, ask any time, right? Don't worry. We are in same class and same position now. So please ask. Don't be afraid, right? Because in this time you have to have clear and thorough idea about all this. Otherwise, you didn't have time to pay your attention and to learn all these things, right? Hello? Any idea? Any idea? Yes, one number. Hello? Hello? Yes. Any question from your side? Hello? I cannot hear your voice.
No, sir, no.
Right. Oh, Dullahani, you have connection with your problem, no? Okay, don't worry. You can see our video. Say then Roshan. Shall I going to stop our class today?